Somewhere between 2 and 8 million years ago, depending on where you draw the line, hominid ancestors of modern humans evolved a frontal lobe, the prefrontal cortex, the ventrolateral frontal cortex, and the association cortex. Most mammals possess a prefrontal cortex, and this unique structure certainly provides mammalians with high-function processing and analytical skills as compared to most other families of animals. The prefrontal and ventrolateral frontal cortexes are specific to primates, such as chimpanzees, orangutans, and other monkeys. These areas are responsible for complex decision-making, social awareness, regulating emotions, inhibiting inappropriate responses, and determining processes for reaching goals, among other things. The association cortex helps us create language and link information from many parts of the brain, originating in our various sense organs, together into a unified perceived schema of the world around us. It has a major role in establishing our paradigm. This evolutionary breakthrough in our branch of the tree of life, like any other thing, is neither a blessing nor a curse. It is simply a tool. It can be a blessing if used to enhance our lives, the lives of others, and the planet as a whole, or it can be a curse if used to harm ourselves, others, and/or Mother Earth and her constituents. This same argument can be made for any single item or entity. It is not exclusive to the human brain. And, in the grand scheme of the universe, we only acquired this unique anatomy, along with the traits that come with it, recently. It is a relatively new toy for our species, for animal kind, and for living things in general. This is not to say that humans are the only intelligent living things on the planet. To imply this would be doing a great injustice to the concept of intelligence. As a matter of fact, the intelligence specific to humans, and some would argue certain aquatic mammals such as dolphins and whales, as well as certain cephalopods such as octopi, squid, and cuttlefish, is rather limited as compared to the intelligence within the biosphere on the whole. The intelligence underlying the processes of evolution, regenerative systems, and a myriad of other biological processes know far more than our brain will ever likely comprehend or contain. We may have some idea how these processes function, but we cannot replicate them, nor do we know from whence they came. When compared to the intelligence of the universe, our minds are but feeble, fragile, simple little processes, biologically speaking. The mind is a blessing, in that it allows us to see the universe in a way that not many other species, if any, can. We can wonder. We can question. We can imagine. And the most profitable trait of them all is our ability to use the mind to connect with the source of all creation, the Creator, God. No other creature on earth, to our knowledge, can transcend the physical via the mind to commune with the creative force of the universe. But some humans routinely do so. Others know they could if they would prepare themselves properly. And many others likely take it for granted, like it is there if and when they really need something beyond their means. Where the mind becomes a curse is when it becomes our only means of surveying, sensing, evaluating, and decision-making. When we use this limited tool to function and interact and shape our lives without due consideration for our other intelligences, those of intuition and creativity, of love and compassion, of patience and forbearance, of perspective and humility. Yes, these are forms of intelligence. Our mind tells us what seems to be the reasonable thing. Intuition tells us what is the right thing. Our mind may tell us the safe thing. Creativity tells us the inspiring thing. Our mind tells us the self-serving thing. Love and compassion tell us the giving thing. Our mind tells us the ambitious thing. Patience and forbearance tell us the wise thing. Our mind tells us the ego thing. Perspective and humility teach us the universal thing. In lay terms, the mind, while serving a purpose, can often get in the way. It typically causes more problems than it solves. Some refer to this as overthinking a problem. Instead of feeling our way through a situation, We try to think our way through it, when often your gut feeling or intuition tells you immediately if something doesn't seem right. Our mind might take days or weeks or months to draw the same conclusion, if it ever does. Most often, when we ignore our intuition and think through the reasons for moving forward with a thing, also known as talking ourselves into something, we don't learn until the situation bites us in the tail. And then, in retrospect, we often realize we should have heeded our inner sense, our intuition, our gut feeling. The mind is also the biggest detractor we have from living in alignment with nature and natural law. Before we acquired the frontal lobe, as a species, we lived more like lower mammals. We followed our natural programming, our instincts and compulsions toward survival, avoiding excesses, destructive emotions, and neuroses. We simply did not have the capacity for them. We were born, learned to survive, planned, collected food stores as was prudent, procreated, and evaluated the world around us based on how well it served those mandates. Once we developed the capacity of self-awareness, reflection, and imagination, we also developed larger personal and societal issues, such as war, anxiety, and cruelty. No other species on the planet has proliferated these like we have. No other animal has brought forth the scale of destruction, devastation, and loss of life that we have. No other living thing has corrupted Mother Earth like we have. Pre-Homo sapien, the world was a balance of living things, processes, and systems. Hominids lived in small clans, moved with the seasons, and only took what was sustainable for their survival. We lived in harmony with nature and the natural processes. You might say, well, we had no choice. That was the limit of our neural network. It was all we were capable of. And that is precisely the point. Once higher-level thinking processes took root, it was only time before we took lordship over nature, creating a gross imbalance between ourselves and other living things, processes, and systems. Our drive for conquest and dominion has resulted in the obliteration of countless species by unnatural means, the disturbance of climate processes, the rewriting of genetic code in plants and animals for short-sighted gains, let alone the untold suffering of generations upon generations of our own kind through self-inflicted famine, drought, and pestilence. Not to mention warfare, oppression, and the industrial and technological processes of separating ourselves further and further from nature. Numerous peace, faith, and religious traditions advocate stillness, quietness in your mind to find center and better hear and connect with your other intelligences, those of intuition, creativity, and love. The mind is not the conduit of the path of peace. This is why it is necessary to quieten it, to still it, to control it. It is an evolutionary mechanism of self, not of universality, of pride, selfishness, lust, and deceit, not of compassion, humility, patience, and truth. In order for the mind to be useful as a tool of personal evolution, the goal of which is spirituality, the purpose of life, it must be in balance with the other intelligences. Our thoughts, words, and deeds must be the result of equal parts consideration, intuition, creativity, and love in order to serve our personal evolution. If one's thoughts, words, and deeds are dominated by their mind, they will tend towards self-centeredness. If dominated by intuition, they may lack prudence. If by creativity, practicality, and if by love, well, love should be the basis from which all our thoughts, words, and deeds proceed. But if there is a caution in being dominated by love, it would be that we may neglect self to an unhealthy degree. But this is not typically a hazard, as our instinct for self-preservation tends to kick in before that happens. And as we know from so many other more practical scenarios, one who is drowning cannot save another, one in need cannot provide need to others, and one without an oxygen mask will likely not remain conscious long enough to provide masks to others. At least so say the airlines I've flown. Balance in all things is the key to maintaining peace, health, and perspective. The mind is a blessing when balanced by intuition, the intelligence of the spirit, creativity, the intelligence of the creator, and love, the intelligence of the cosmos. When out of balance, it is only destructive, harmful, and hurtful. Prior to the frontal lobe, our hominid ancestors may have had other, more basic concerns, but physically, emotionally, and mentally they were much more in harmony with nature and natural processes than our modern scenario. Once ascending to sapien, we had achieved the power to become inharmonious, even harmful, to ourselves, one another, and the earthly mother. It seems we haven't matured as a species beyond this state of sapien evolution. While we survive, there is still the chance that we might one day transcend the self-centered, self-serving, and short-sighted mindset which we maintain, that we might see ourselves as intricately connected to the earth, each other, and the universe, that we might survive the curse of the frontal lobe.